Hello friends, and welcome to the Gesundheit Kitchen. My name is Hans Rueffert, and I'm always trying to figure out a way to utilize leftovers. And especially in a previous segment, we made some rice, and I used a rice blend that had several different types of brown rice, as well as barley and some beans in there. And I typically like to make, if not the whole bag at once, I make half of the bag at once, so that I have in the refrigerator leftovers intentionally. Because if I am all of a sudden craving something and it takes an hour or an hour and a half to cook it, sometimes I miss that window of opportunity to eat when I am feeling like I want food. So by having these things ready in the fridge and by keeping them neutral, so I don't cook them with salt or with any particular spices, because I want to be able to use them as a canvas. So I've got this, and it's chilled from the refrigerator. There's a million ways I could take this in any direction, but always trying to get more protein into my diet. I'm going to do it with some eggs, and I'm going to start with ghee. And if you're not familiar with ghee, it is essentially clarified butter, but it becomes almost an entirely different ingredient than butter, and then it loses its lactose. So if you're sensitive to lactose, this is lactose free. I can't eat a lot of oils and butters, but ghee seems to be, it has a little bit of a hall pass that you can sneak it into. It's a great thing to bake with. You can put it on toast, and of course we're all geared a little differently, but ghee has worked tremendously well for me. So on about medium-high heat, I'm gonna just saute a clove of garlic. I feel like I have to put garlic in pretty much everything I do. Garlic is a natural antifungal, antimicrobial, and plus just wow on flavor. And by putting it in early, it basically flavors this ghee, and so I'm gonna have this nice garlicky ghee. And then I make a little salt blend that uses lavender flowers, a little coriander, white pepper, and sea salt. So just whatever your favorite seasoning blend is in there. Again, putting it in early, and not too much. You can always add more, but it's hard to take it out. So I've got this on a simmer, and now I'm going to go in with my rice. And I guess you could equate this to a fried rice, but I'm not, again, not too much in the way of fat or an oil. But I just want this to be warmed through, and it is kind of a sticky. It's got this is like a short grain rice, and so it has a sticky consistency to it, but that's fine. And then into this, I'm going to throw some, this is a Chinese water spinach, but any kind of a green would work, whatever you have, bok choy, spinach, even chopped romaine lettuce, and putting that in fairly early. I always tell people I don't cook vegetables, I threaten them. So I'm threatening this spinach, so it's still going to have all of its great nutritional properties. It's going to have all of the digestive enzymes that my body needs to break them down, because I'm not going to cook it so much that it turns brown. So I got 2 eggs, and I use the entire egg. And this is actually great whether the dish is hot straight out of the pan, or even I can cut it into slices and put it in the fridge and eat it cold or room temperature. So it becomes essentially like a frittata, or like an egg pizza, I guess you could say. And when I'm working with eggs, what I try to do is move it around. So I'm using a heat-proof silicone spatula and in a great non-stick pan. So I keep moving this around and chopping holes in it, and to let the egg kind of go back in and fill up those holes. And that's how you build up volume too. And then once I've got it kind of nice and spread around here, I'll throw a lid on it. And I feel like this is the step that a lot of people don't do. They're trying to get it 100% done on one side, and then they're struggling to flip it. But this allows for the steam to stay in here, and so I'm steaming the top of the, whatever you're making, an omelet or a frittata, or even if it's just scrambled eggs, the steam is going to allow that egg to set. So this now becomes almost like an oven or a Dutch oven, and I'm capturing that steam, with the emphasis being I don't want to overcook this. I don't want this to be like rubbery. I just want to get it to set. And so you can see how much steam pops out of that. And the whole thing is now starting to hold together. But this is the kind of thing that I often do for breakfast, or if it's cold day and I want a warm lunch, I can throw in beans if I have leftover beans. In this particular case, there were beans mixed into the rice blend. So it is the perfect canvas, and I've got probably about, I don't know, 10, 12, 14 grams of protein in there. And once it's starting to hold together, I am going to flip it. If you're not good at the actual flipping procedure, you can actually do where you put a plate on here instead of the lid, invert the whole thing upside down, and then put the pan back down and then slide from the plate the egg back into the pan. I typically just flip it. And now watch, I'm gonna do it and it's gonna go all over the place, but you know what? If I do, there we go, that's pretty good. And if it does do this, just smash it back out to fill the pan. But you can see it's got that nice little bit of crispness. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the heat, cover it back up, and let it sit for a minute until the whole thing sets again on the other side, and then we'll pop it open and eat it in just a second. All right, so that is looking perfect. And so all I have to do is slide this onto the plate, and that's way more than I can sit down and eat. I mean, that's pretty ambitious, but it is, that's for 2 people, or better yet, it's 2 meals. So you can divide this in half or into 4ths, eat what you can eat, or eat a few bites of it now, wait a little bit, see how you're feeling, go back to the rest of it. Oftentimes we make the mistake of we're feeling good, we feel like we can eat something, and then we eat too much, and then we sort of crash and go down the other side of the hill. So I have gotten in the habit that when I go out to eat, I will typically order a full-size portion, even though I know that I can't do it. And then right from the beginning, I'll divide it up, and I'll ask for a to-go box, and I'll put that away. Or I have a teenage son too, I can also just let him finish it. But I think that's a great way to sort of train yourself portion control. Just ask right away if you're eating out, ask for a to-go box, keep that separate. Same thing at home. Like if you're making something this big, you think, well, I'm gonna have to store it. Get 2 plates, put the rest on a plate, eat what you can eat now, and then kind of graze, cycle back to it later. That whole sort of concept of grazing is something that we learn as we get stronger after our surgeries or after our treatments. So this is this changes every day for me. Whatever I have in the kitchen, whatever's in the fridge, however I want to kind of utilize leftovers. It's almost a joke in our family that if I put a fried egg on it, it's breakfast. But this is a great way to utilize leftover grains, leftover beans, incorporate some of the protein from the eggs. I have pet chickens, and so they're providing me all the eggs I can eat. But this is always a fun and creative way to utilize those ingredients. Take care of yourself. We look forward to seeing you here once again in the Gesundheit Kitchen. Gesundheit.